Hey guys, welcome back to Nurse D TV. So the title of this video is my worst experience as a COVID-19 frontline nurse. So if you guys haven't watched my video before, I did recently complete a contract where I was employed as a COVID-19 relief nurse in the state of Florida. Of course, for many reasons, I won't be including where I worked, who I worked for, blah, 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 names, the legalities. um, but I can kind of describe like the worst things I've went through in my experience. And I'm not the only nurse that you probably see on social media touch on these items, because this has been something that's been going on for, I guess, the entirety of the COVID pandemic. Okay, so I'll say the first thing, as you guys know, supplies. Supplies. You guys, supplies, I honestly don't know what it is. I understand in the beginning it was a shortage, and then a lot of hospitals were accused of not giving their employees supplies. It's a lot of rumors that just have been going around in terms of just like supplies, why healthcare professionals haven't been given the right amount or just haven't been given any at all, and they have to buy their own. Of course, now, well, let me backtrack. Let's talk about how supplies works, right, in the hospital. So COVID, right? Rona. COVID is classified as like a contact, airborne, droplet, everything virus, right? And in those cases, in the hospital, when you have anybody that's under certain precautions to the point where where people going in contact with them need a gown, a mask, a face shield, goggles, gloves, in terms of that. What they'll actually do is they'll have the supplies in front of the door, right? This is like back in the old days before COVID, because the whole floor usually wouldn't be under those precautions. It would just be one patient out of like maybe 50 patients on the floor. So what they would do is they would have like something on the door, like a like almost like how we have shoe hangers on doors. It would be like a hanger for supplies, for your protective equipment to wear when you go into that person's room. And in that bag that hangs on the door, you would have unlimited amount of gowns and gloves and a mask if you need a mask, and goggles or facial if you need that. What made COVID so crazy is instead of having one person under those precautions, you have the entire floor under those precautions, right? So you have 50 people under those precautions, and of course that means you need like 50 times the supplies. So in that case, when you wear a gown or a glove or mask or goggles, whatever, theoretically you want to put on a fresh new set before you enter every room, right? Before even every interaction. So before COVID, if say I had a patient, I wouldn't be saving gowns or masks. If I had to go in and give that patient medication at 9 a.m., I'll go in, dress appropriately, come out, throw it away, and every time I go in that patient room, I have a new set. You understand? And that set would not leave that room. By the time I'm ready to exit the room, I'm taking that off. It's thrown away in the garbage. When I'm going back in the room, I'm putting on a brand new set, right? So I'm probably going through about 6, 7, 8 pairs of that outfit throughout the shift. For every time that I have to medicate the patient, see the patient for what they need, just in terms of those different things. So then you have COVID, and COVID is completely different. So you don't have unlimited access to masks and gowns and things like that. You have gowns that you have to save. It is not even for every interaction. You have a gown that you're wearing for your patients for a couple of hours. Same thing for the mask. We got one N95 for the shift. Of course, well, I'm not going to say of course, but my experience was like, it was to the point where my items were soiled or damaged, they would go through the extensive efforts to replace it for me. But other than that, it was my responsibility as the nurse to sustain my items, to be able to be reused throughout the shift. Supplies, like where I'm getting to is like supplies is basically like a big shortage. And I know it's something that a lot of us healthcare workers are struggling with right now. And I'm pretty sure even hospitals and in terms of like federal funding and government funding, I'm not sure how those numbers work. So I'm pretty sure it's been pretty hard for everyone. But patient safety is always first. And nurses, healthcare workers, we need our supplies. We need our supplies to do our job. Because our supplies not only protect us from the patient, but it also protects the patient from us. And having adequate supplies can make a difference between, who gets reinfected with COVID, or even which staff members end up being infected and then can't work, So it's just very important for supplies to be adequately adequately accounted for. Another thing I would say, like a really bad experience for me, I guess, was the acuity of the patients. And when I talk about acuity is how severe your patient is, how many problems or conditions that they come to the hospital with, or they present to you wherever you work. So even though you may be on a med surg floor or a telemetry floor, or even cardiac step down, the acuity of your patients can be higher than what you're used to on the average. So of course with COVID, you're not getting regular med surg patients, telemetry patients, step down patients. You're getting those patients that are, there might be telemetry, but they're a lot more critical than the average telemetry patient. And it's to the point where you're almost getting like borderline ICU patients on med surg telemetry floors, if that makes sense. And I'm pretty sure it's not like this at all hospitals, but I can only speak on like my own experience. The patients that I experienced were a lot more higher acuity, and just definitely required an increase in skill set. And that's where, as a nurse, you want to ask a lot of questions. You really want to collaborate with your peers, because it can be a very scary experience, especially if it's something that you're not used to. So that's definitely what I did. I asked a lot of questions, and I had good nights, bad nights. That's just what comes with the job. Not every night is going to be perfect, and that's whether you're in a COVID pandemic or not. Just the beauty of the career. But yeah, so that was, I would say, like a crazy experience for me, was dealing with patients that were very critical, and on top of that, their loved ones can't visit them, or, they're confined to this room, and they're constantly seeing people dressed up like they're about to go on a space trip. So it was very difficult. You're dealing with a lot of different things, a lot of different personalities and emotions. But it was something I was definitely able to get through and definitely learn from, to then bring into my nursing career as I go on. Another, I'll say, different experience I had to go through as a frontline nurse is clustering my care. Right, clustering your care means doing as many things as you can in one interaction with your patient, because of course it's COVID, right? So if I'm taking care of these patients, I want to give them the care that they're allotted to, while not exposing myself to the virus too many times. So clustering your care is like a big thing, and it's something that even the most experienced healthcare worker is not used to, because on a regular day, we're able to bust into the rooms as many times as we want, talk to the patients, ask questions 10 times, do things that we're used to doing different times of the day. But now you're really, time management is already like a key skill you have to have. But then now you're really forced to crunch your time, because now you have to, take vitals, clean the patient, pass medications, all within one patient interaction. And you're not doing that for one person, you're doing it for 4, 5, 6 people. While maybe getting a transfer, maybe getting a new admission, and dealing with things that, of course, that you can't predict to happen. So that was just a very different experience for me, very scary as well. You know, and it's like, no matter how organized you think you start off your shift, it always ends definitely not how you planned it to end. It ends with you doing a whole bunch of things, running around like a headless chicken. But overall, I'll say a lot of the problems that I went through, it's a nationwide thing. And like, you know, I have to keep this video as vague as possible, but it's a nationwide problems that all healthcare workers are going through. So guys, please, you know, if you see a frontline worker, and that's just not just nurses, I'm talking about nursing assistants, people that work at grocery stores, you know, just anyone that you see out there that's putting their life on the line to help society stay obeyed, you know, tell them thank you. You know, thank you for their service and what they're doing. And also wear a mask and social distance, because that alone is showing those frontline workers that you care for them, and that you're trying to take some weight off of their workload. So guys, thank you so much for tuning into this video. As always, please comment any video ideas you may have for me. My name is Nurse D. Thank you again. Subscribe to my channel, like this video. I will see you next time. Bye.